have cracked so many times, but it's always a future. I've been working as a project manager for many years and speaking on the project management forum on top of AI for about 5-6 years. Along with me is my friend Umar, who came all the way, and he will be my personal photographer today. So thank you, Umar. So today we'll be talking about revolutionizing project management with AI. So this is a roundtable discussion. So it's not me talking, it's we all collaborate together and we will see how AI can revolutionize or change the project management or one of the key points. So if you're interested, if you want to connect with me, my LinkedIn URL is here, which is linkedin.com/in/issue. And also, if you like my talk, if you want to download some content, I have developed the AI prompt guide for the project managers. So you can go to pmassistant.ai and download that prompt for free. And if you want to talk to me a lot more, you can catch me up for the Roundtable webinar. I'm also a founding director for PM Assistant, which is an agent for the project managers to help them assist their team. So with that, what I would like to ask a question to this roundtable is, we all know that AI is here to stay. It's not going to go away, and it's something that we have to adopt. And AI will not replace the humans, but the humans with AI will replace humans without AI. We all understand that. All of us have seen how industrial revolutions, last one industrial revolution, has transformed the business. The two key important points from those industrial revolutions is that each industrial revolution is getting shorter, and the innovation growth is happening faster and faster. So that means what we need to do is we need to adopt, we need to learn, and we need to learn those things faster. And the most important skill set in this time of the AI is not any technical skill set, but it is our ability to unlearn and our ability to relearn. We need to be comfortable with the AI, with the technology that can do the job for us, and be okay with that it may not be 100% correct, but it will get us 80%, 90% to where we want to be. So the sooner we understand that, and the sooner we start building that skill set of unlearning and relearning, the better we will become. It's not a technical skill, so there's no technology to learn. It's all about to train our mind how to unlearn what we have learned over the years of life, and then relearn how to do it again using technology, using the innovation. Now let's go back to our topic, which is revolutionizing project management using AI. And what we have for this roundtable discussion, again, as I said, that this is a roundtable discussion. It's not me talking, it's all of us having the conversation and getting some of your feedback. So I put 4 points here that AI will impact project management in these 4 areas. Number 1, automation, accuracy, accountability, and efficiency. Before we start talking about automation, in some of my events, I ask a question. Is there anybody in this room who loves to take the meeting minutes? I need to talk sometimes. Because there are very few people who like to take meeting minutes. It's one of the mundane tasks. It's something that people always struggle. It's like, oh, I said this, I did not mean that, right? So AI is here to help us automate those mundane tasks so that we can focus on other things. So the question to this room is, how do you think AI will help us in the automation, in accuracy, and having the accountability, because projects do fail. Somebody does talk about project risk in one of those meetings and nobody took any action, and that's how the project failed in a run. Right? So who's accountable for that? And how can we increase efficiency? So those are the questions. I will just move this flip chart, and the question is, what can we automate as a project manager? All of us have managed projects in our life. What can we automate in project manager that is not adding value, or that AI can do better than us. If AI can do better than us, what can we let AI do for us in terms of automation? What can we automate?
Meeting scheduling.
Yeah.
Meeting scheduling, okay? So I have a very bad handwriting, and I usually say that it expires within 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So I'll try my best. So meeting scheduling, that's a good one. So one other thing that I was talking to someone in some previous event, they mentioned that number of people block their time, and if AI can predict whether if somebody is double booked and what is the probability that he will attend this meeting or that meeting, I can schedule that person for that meeting, right? So meeting scheduling is one of the biggest challenges.
Project planning. Project planning, work breakdown structure.
Work breakdown structure.
Resource allocation.
Okay, work breakdown structure, right? Resource breakdown structure, they call it, right?
Yeah.
Resource allocation. What else can we automate that AI can do better than us? We are still in the loop. So remember, human in the loop will always happen. There are some tasks that AI can do better than us, and for that one I have this picture. So Singapore governance AI model, they did some research and they said that there are tasks that AI can do better than us. So let's call that human out of the loop. That means we don't need to be involved, let AI do it, it does better than us, let it do it. The next one is human in the loop, meaning the task that we need to make sure that AI is doing and we are reviewing it, we are autocorrect, we are correcting it, we are reading every single line that AI is producing, right? And we are at this stage. Most of the generative AI, we are at this stage. The next stage is human over the loop. So think of this as you're driving on a highway on a cruise control, okay? You see something on the road and you take off the cruise control, you pass that obstruction and then you put the cruise control back. So that is human over the loop. Meaning human is still there, it's kind of a supervising, not heavy. So this is, human is heavily engaged, this is not engaged, this is lightly engaged. And then the last one is human on top of the loop. This is where we need to make sure if we are generating a new model, the model is working fine, okay? It could be a healthcare decision, right? We all go to Google to put our blood work there, right? But we don't, sometimes we take some over-the-counter medication based on Google recommendation, but we will not take over-the-counter medication or any medication for serious disease, right? So we want human in that, on top of the loop, where AI may recommend something, but human on the top will say, yes, you can do this or you cannot do this. This could be model validation, this could be healthcare decision, this could be weapon deployment or critical infrastructure thing that could have impact. So there is always human in the loop. Only this place is human out of the loop. This is all about the automation that we have seen in the last 20 years. Right? So you will see more and more here, and then we get to here and over here and then here. So let's get back to our automation. And the question remains the same. What are the different things that AI can help us automate for a project manager? Hiring employees. Okay, let's talk about that one. What exactly? Hiring resources.
Yeah, each time a new employee is hired, that's a project in itself from beginning to end.
Okay.
And we have tools that can make that better, faster.
Okay. So.
It will make experience for everybody.
Okay. So onboarding, training. Okay. Making sure the employee understands the PMO guidelines, whatever you guys have. Okay. Good.
Risk identifications.
Risk identification, big one.
And mitigation.
Big one. Risk management. So AI can identify the risk. So you can simply go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm working on this project. So if you go to the AI prompt guide that I have, download it, like there are 80 plus prompts. And there are like I think 5 to 10 prompts about risk management, right? Or risk identification. So you can simply write saying, hey, I am working on a project as a project manager. Help me as my project management assistant to identify risk for this project, and you provide the project context. You can simply say, I'm implementing ERP solution. I'm implementing Workday. I'm implementing Oracle Fusion. I'm implementing or doing a data migration of this and this type. Provide your context, and then say, hey, can you help me identify 5 risks? It will do this out of the box. No specialized training is required. Now, as you start adding more context about your project, your team, then you can start helping to build the mitigation plans. Good ones. What else can you automate?
Cost analysis.
Cost analysis, okay? Okay, there was another one.
Timeline validation?
Timeline validation, okay, so I'm just gonna put time validation. So what exactly would that mean?
Tracking.
So the thought would be if you have historical data for how long your design team takes, how long your development team takes, you know, you say I have a new project, it's gonna take 6 months, you can look at that data and say, that's probably gonna take you 7.
Yes, okay. So what we discuss here is that we can create the work breakdown structure, right? But we still need to validate, because in your company, so I'm an independent consultant, right? I come to your company working for you, start working for you. I do not truly understand the change management process in your company, or whatever the different policies and procedures are, right? So somebody need to help me saying, hey, in order to do this, we need to do this, and this is our process is. So making sure that within your AI model, you have your organizational policies, procedures, or the PMO guidelines is sitting somewhere, validating that and making sure that you incorporate all the things that are in your policies and you're not bypassing your policies. Okay. So I'll just put policy validation as well.
Stakeholder analysis and change management planning.
Okay. Policy validation, stakeholder. You said stakeholder.
Analysis and change management planning.
Change management. Okay. What else can we automate? So we are trying to automate things that AI can do better than us, so that we can focus on other things.
Documentation.
Documentation, big one. So I'll give you example of documentation. I did run an AI workshop for a project management group in California a couple of months back. And what we did is, we simply said that, hey, I'm starting a project. Okay, we give the project description, and again, this was real time in front of live audience. And we said that this is a project, help me draft a project kickoff meeting agenda. Right? Based on that description, it gives me a meeting agenda. And my question to the group was, if you have to write an agenda of this quality, how long it will take you? And the answer was anywhere from 1 to 3 hours, depending on what the person's level. And then I was like, now this ChatGPT and Google Gemini can do it for you within a minute. That means now you have more time to review it, human in the loop, validate it, make it your own, and then publish it. This is where the value is. Further, what we did is, we take it to the next level. We asked 5 or 6 prompts asking about the project, so providing the project context and the history, and then say, hey, can you help me draft a statement of the work? And boom, the statement of work was ready. And same question I asked, how long it will take you if you have to write from scratch? The answer was anywhere from 4 hours to 2 days, uninterrupted. Now you can do that within a few prompts of having that negotiation, some discussion, and you can take it to the next level. So now all of these things are happening, and these are possible out of the box using the generative AI. Right? We will see more and more products in coming years that will have those things incorporated, where they can automatically integrate with your ecosystem and look forward. Another important thing from documentation perspective is, one of the biggest challenge is organization have their own history, their own lesson learned. Right? As a PMO managers, we are asked to do a document lesson learned, but what happened to that document? Nobody reads it. It goes on a SharePoint drive, some Google Drive that nobody has access to. Nobody reads it. Nothing. Now with generative AI, you have all your document repositories all over the place, right? Now you can read that and you can say, hey, we have tried this type of project a few times in the last 2 years, right? And it failed. And we can't try it again. We need to try something different. So that's the insight that we are looking for.
Mashhood. So you talked about these things as like products are going to become available to do these things, which to me is a very 1980s and 90s way of thinking what's going on with automation here. I believe within the next few years we're going to see everything we talked about here show up as almost an agent avatar on a Teams meeting. There's going to be an AI agent that's going to be looking at the meeting from the perspective of scheduling and risk management and whatever. If we think about these as productized automations, I think we're missing 80% of the value that's going to be available to our project teams. And I think most of the people, certainly within our organization, aren't ready to have that kind of interaction with automation. They are still thinking in terms of, I'm going to provide it an input, and I'm going to get an output, which is a very old way of thinking about this kind of technology.
Yeah, so the important thing here is, remember I talked about unlearning and relearning. So organizations still have that process of, I give the input and get the output. It's not you giving the input and getting the output. It's about consolidating your unstructured data. So let me talk about unstructured data versus structured data. The structured data is data in your spreadsheet, tables, Gantt charts, and all those fun things that we have seen in the last 20 years. Unstructured data is your documents, your PDF, your SharePoint, your Google Drive, all the documents, all the emails, right? If you start reading your emails, you will see the patterns, right? And with the generative AI, you can feed in your enterprise level email system and say, hey, based on this, help me understand where the new risks are for this particular project. And it will go and assess all the emails. And again, yes, you need to have the privacy policy and all those things, like who can read the email and who cannot, right? That's a separate discussion. But those type of product we will see those type of product in the near future.
I could argue that everything you just talked about could be a description of a new person I bring on my team. They have to have access to emails, they have to be able to participate in meetings, and I guess the point is, we almost need to be thinking about this technology as a new person being brought on the team with a new mission, a mission associated with that. We're looking for them to tie into the data sources that are necessary, participating as if they're part of the team, and automating that environment, as opposed to, we gotta find this document, we gotta feed it to them. That document, I think that's the wrong way to be thinking about this.
Yeah, so the automation will happen if I'm a project manager, if I'm a new project manager in your company, if I should have access to that project document, then give me the access automatically without going through the permission loop. Because that loop takes sometimes 2 days, 3 days, because the document owner is no longer with the company and then somebody else has access to the document and they don't give access. With AI can read that document and say, okay, there's no financial, there's no personal information in this document. Yes, Mashhood is working on this project, so yes, he should have access to the business case document or a project failure document that happens in the same area, right? So we can automate those types of permissions.
Going to the document, so you want the document created, the AI also confidential or patent.
Yes. So what we call is like, so we can label that whether it's confidential or confidential and what information is there.
Going back to what that gentleman was talking about, in your matrix chart, you're kind of doing a human in the loop.
Yes.
And a different way to think about it is instead of human in the loop, it's a computer in the group.
Yes.
And that kind of fits what you're talking about. It's not something I'm overriding. It's a part of my team.
Yes.
And it's providing. It's subtle, but it's a very big difference in the way. I like the way you're looking at it. I think that's the longer term future.
It changes the way we manage, it changes the way we make information available, it changes cybersecurity. I mean,
Yes.
the cultural implications in businesses of that kind of a technology are massive, and I think most leaders and companies are not ready for that. And the capability is probably going to be there before they're ready for it.
So what we're talking about permissions that would probably sit in human out of the loop and human in the loop, right? So we will say that, okay, there's a new project, I'm a new project manager to the organization, give me access to all the things that are related to this project. Boom, right? So nobody has to give access to each single document every single time I do it, right? So yes, those types of automation we will see at the enterprise level, right? So again, those are enterprise level use cases. Now let's move on from automation to our next topic, which is accuracy. So we struggle sometimes as a project manager to accurately describe how much work effort it will take to complete a project. That's, I think, to me, is the biggest challenge. So let's talk about what are the challenges in terms of accuracy when you are working on a project, and what will be the potential use cases that we will see in the coming future.
Just inaccurate.
Sorry?
Inaccurate time estimates. I'll have that by next Wednesday. Truth is, it's gonna be 3 Wednesdays from now, and the cascading effects aren't accounted for until it's already too late to find out.
Yep, time estimates. Or work breakdown estimates, right? So estimating how long it will take.
I'd also say inaccurate time reporting, that kind of hurts this project, but after a period of time, you can't estimate if people are reporting, I spent 8 hours on this and they really spent 15 minutes.
Yep. And also time estimation is function of resource. So for example, you're a senior project manager or you're a senior analyst, you can do this job in 1 day, while if the junior person is assigned on my project, it might take him 5 days to do that. Right? If I'm looking at the time estimate, it could be 1 day to 5 days depending on the resource function. And then we talk about reporting, inaccurate reporting. Okay. What else are the challenges in terms of accuracy in the project management?
From my experience, I think one's accuracy, a scope.
The scope. Okay. So how accurately project manager understand the scope? What are the gray areas in the scope of the project? Right? Scope or gray areas. Typically, when I'm working on a project, I ask a question, what is not in the scope? And then they simply don't give a good answer. And then I ask a question differently. And the question I typically ask is, what are the things that other people who are not working on this project may think that we are working on it, but we are not working on it? And that just opens up a discussion. Because now I just changed the thought process. Instead of asking what is not in scope, I'm asking what other people might be assuming that we are doing, but we are not doing. Because they're not our team members. So accuracy in terms of time estimate, which is a function of resource, accuracy in terms of reporting, accuracy in terms of scoping. What else that project manager struggles with?
T-shirt sizing. So I love like an automated, I give you requirements and it kicks out to knows kind of in the back end how long the estimate of code. Right now it takes a week
Yeah.
to get accurate t-shirt sizing. So.
Yeah. So t-shirt sizing is used in agile work. Basically what it means is that whether it's a small, it could be done for the task, it could be done for the story level, it could be done at the project level. You can say that, small, medium, large, extra large kind of a thing. And then you can define what your t-shirt sizing is, right? So accurately defining what the project is really mean based on the historical information. Again, if we can automate and have access to the lesson learned from historical company history, or even how other people are doing in the industry. So a lot of time we do benchmark with the industry, right? How other people are implementing, and based on that we say that yes, it's going to take 6 months or 10 months for this particular project, right? So not just looking at the company data, but the data that is available outside the company. Anything else that we struggle with accuracy?
Cost and budget.
Budget?
Cross-document consistency.
Okay, that's a very good one. Budget and document consistency. So what exactly do you mean by document consistency?
You got 10 people working in 5 different locations, and one person sends the wrong email that quotes something wrong, or it's in Rally wrong, and all of a sudden, the CEO sees it. That's now law.
Yes.
Not speaking from personal experience.
Yeah, it's not personal, but document consistency or inconsistency, right? So what if AI can correctly tell you while you're writing, saying, hey, the project go live is October 15th, right? But in your actual project plan, it's November 15th. So if you do like a typo like that, it will pick up because it can read the context of the word that you use. So that will be a very important use case that we will see in terms of accuracy, and it goes back to the reporting aspect, right? So we talked about the reporting function as well. Now, I think it's also considered not just for reporting, also for the team collaboration, what have we discussed, what have we had agreed, and what we have not. So, question? I think you mentioned budgeting.
Yeah, so I have a question here. So as we know that AI has this hallucination.
Yes.
And so like just like so how we can emphasize on accuracy by relying on AI?
So that hallucination happens. So we need to understand why hallucination happens, right? Let's just talk about why hallucination happens in human. We start overthinking, right? Hallucination happens because humans have an anxiety and a tendency to overthink or try to solve a problem that is not a problem, right? And then they start hallucination. In the world of AI, it's the same thing, right? And if you remember, you might have seen some AI pictures of human with feather hands, right? If you remember some AI generated pictures that had human with feather hands. And you need to think about like why it is recommended, why AI is generating that. The reason is because as a human, we like the mermaid, which is a combination of a beautiful girl and a fish, right? And AI think, hey, if they like that, they might like this. Right? So that's how the hallucination happens. Now, the control hallucination is to set the boundaries. So when I'm prompting any generative AI, I ask a question based on this information, provide me this and this. So I typically write a prompt. I'm working as a project manager, help me as my AI assistant to tell me what are the 5 risks that were discussed in this meeting based on this meeting transcription. So I'm setting up the boundaries. I'm telling my role, the context that I'm a project manager, you are working as my assistant, as an AI assistant, and here's the context of the meeting. From this meeting, give me 5 risks. So you control. Now, if you don't control, if you simply ask, give me the risk, it can give you 20 risks sometimes, and sometimes it's just a garbage. But if you say, give me 3 high probability or 5 high probability risks, it will give you good high probability risks. So it's all about how you control the parameters and the boundaries.
Yep. I would also like how you are going to train the model. So we're speaking about generative AI stuff, but for example, there's some forecasting. So how are you going to control the model, the regressions, and everything else that will matter a lot in improving the accuracy?
Yes, it will improve, but the challenge here is model training is very expensive. It's time consuming, right? And the generative AI that we have seen so far, like ChatGPT 4, Gemini, Cloudy, out of the box, they are very good, 80-90% good, and they are accurate. What we just need to make sure is there's a human in the loop. Whenever AI is generating any document, somebody is reading and validating it and confirming it. Yes, you can train the model, but that's time consuming, cost and effort unless you are a global PMO and you really want to solve a particular niche problem in accuracy.
I was just going to double down on that. We're talking about human in the loop solutions with project managers. If we send a follow-up email generated by AI, I would expect that instead of spending the 30 minutes to write the email, they tell the AI to do it in 4 seconds and then spend 5 seconds reviewing it, 20 minutes saved, right? Use cases that we're primarily talking about here are not trying to summarize such a very broad scope of things that we're going to get broad hallucinations either. So yes, there are guardrails we can do, but also we're essentially doing human supervised, right? We're not really talking about those cases where hallucinations are a major problem.
And as the technology matures, I believe ChatGPT 5 will be a totally different game. It will be much more accurate. It will just get much better. It's just a matter of time, right? Whether it's happened this year or next year. So, looking at time, let's move on to our next 2 topics here. So The next one is accountability. So who's accountable if AI makes a decision? Let me give you a story.
AI doesn't make a decision, AI can only recommend.
AI can only recommend, but now companies are using AI and putting that as a chatbot in front of the customer. So here's a real story of Air Canada. Okay, somebody went to Air Canada website saying, "Hey, there's a death in the family. I am planning to travel. The ticket is very expensive. Did you provide any bereavement discounts?" Okay, now it's not talking to a human, it's talking to a chatbot. And chatbot thought, hey, that's a good idea to do that. Let's be more human, right? Let's have more empathy with the human. And said, yes, we do provide bereavement discount. If you book your ticket right now, once you come back, you provide us the documentation and we will give you the reimbursement. Okay, guess what this guy did? He traveled, he paid from his pocket, and then he went to Air Canada and said, yes, give me the discount back. And they said, what discount? There's no bereavement discount. We don't have a policy. And then he took them to the court, and court said, no, you hired this chatbot as your company representative. If the chatbot says that, you have to honor it. Right. So accountability, you can never say that because it was made by decision by chatbot or AI, I'm not accountable. No, at the end of the day, we are accountable for the tools that are making decision on our behalf. Okay. So that's a general thing. Now, we have seen some speaker talking about AI explainability, and I'm not going to go in that, right? So let's just go back to, as a project manager, what accountability function AI can help us do our job better.
So it can give you smarter reminders. If it sees that you have a to-do for Friday and it knows based on your history, it's going to take you 2 days, it can remind you on Tuesday that.
Okay. So smart reminders, meaning that you have not started working on this document because it knows where you are clicking, what documents you have not started producing a project charter, for example, and it's due on Friday, right? It's Tuesday. So it's a smart reminder because you are accountable. You made a promise that you will have a charter ready by Friday. Very different.
I would say contractual obligations to the project.
Okay.
So legalities.
Okay, contractual obligations, right? So by contract, sometimes in contract it says that, hey, we have to provide this and this by this date, right? So contractual obligation. I work for a hospital activation project overseas, a big project, and their contract documentation was this thing. And we had group of people who would just read those documents and say, yes, you can do this and you cannot do this. Because our challenge was that we were not able to get into the hospital to set up the IT. And if we cannot get into the hospital to set up the IT because the contract says that, hey, you cannot enter, or you can enter but you cannot do anything, you cannot touch anything, you cannot change anything, right? So that's a contractual thing, and it's buried in this thick legal document. Yes, definitely AI can help us with accountability. Anything, what other things in terms of accountability challenges that you see on the project? Okay. So overlooked areas. So that's a big problem on the project because sometimes I don't understand that. So I have done some IT security projects. I'm not a security expert. But when the vendor and my security director and everybody else they're talking about, they are deep in very technical discussion, I don't get it. So I ask them, is this like a real risk or is this something manageable, right? And sometimes they say, yeah, it's a real risk. Sometimes they say, no, it's something manageable. Now imagine your AI listening to you and you have your AI coach that can tell you saying, hey, you're working as a project manager, they talked about this. This is a potential risk because based on the global search of the internet about the project, these types of projects typically fail because of this. So in Microsoft Teams, they have a coach function. So if you can go, I think it's called Voice Coach. So if you enable that, it will tell you in the real time what words you are using that you should not be using. Give you an example. I said in one of the meetings that I have masters, right? And it corrects me that please do not use the word masters. and I start thinking why it's saying not to use the word master.
I
Can
know I
anybody
have the
guess
same
why?
thing with Scrum Master. Whenever I use Scrum Master,
Yeah.
it pulls, because I use Copilot to check my meeting, it gives me that, and I don't even know why master is as a negative thing.
Okay, can anybody guess why master is a negative connotation? Slavery. History. So you need to think about like master slave, right? And again, in computers, I mean, I'm old enough, we used to have hard drives that we could swap, right? It was a master slave hard drive, right? And like, it was common, like it was okay. But because of that context, it says master is not the appropriate word in Microsoft Copilot and Microsoft Teams. So you need to ask this question, why it is saying that, right? Now, coming back to accountability. What accountability challenges project manager faces?
Project prediction, when you're not.
Project prediction, okay?
Compliance.
Compliance, okay? Prediction. What about decision making? So who's making decisions on the project? And who's accountable for those decisions? Do we have the right people making the right decisions from their area? I have seen, for example, IT security people making decisions on the behalf of networking team. That should not be the case, right? Only networking team should be able to make a decision. So having that stakeholder analysis and stakeholder mapping and understanding how decisions are made and who's accountable for that decision and making sure that person or that resource or that director or that VP of that department is making that decision.
So what do you mean not accountable? Because you look at a license chart, that's actually the responsibility aspect of it, because networking team as a CISO,
Yes.
I'm legally required to do that. So even though you might do it for networking,
Yeah.
I'm legally responsible for it on the security.
Fair enough. So you are legally responsible, that's a different thing, but it's a networking team who will make that decision in collaboration with you, right? Because of your roles, right? But, or it could be vice versa, right? So a networking team making decision on behalf of IT security, you will not allow it, right? Now, because of your race, it will say that, hey, networking team cannot make decision on behalf of IT security. It should be somebody from IT security team making that decision. So you cannot document this decision, right? So if you start documenting that decision, saying, hey, we had this meeting, and IT security was missing from that meeting, and the networking team made the decision, it should stop here, saying, hey, we need IT security on the table. And that is the key in terms of accountability, because lots of project manager misses that because of the heat of the discussion on the project. Because sometimes your network director is much stronger and vocal than your IT security guy, right? Or vice versa. So people have that personality where they push things towards you, right? So, but having some AI system that looks at your RACI chart, your stakeholder says, hey, you cannot make these decisions. You're not accountable for that.
We're trying to do something interesting. Have a chatbot do a RACI chart for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You get some pretty interesting results sometimes.
You wouldn't have the appropriate data, so it's gonna have, it's what you can.
You have to provide a ton of context. and
Yeah,
it
you
still
have to
comes back
provide the
with some crazy
context.
stuff.
Yeah, as I said, that you have to provide the boundaries, you have to provide the context. What I typically do is, I don't write, so some people like to write like a 2-page prompt. I don't like to write a 2-page prompt. What I do is, I write like a smaller prompts, and like 5 to 10 different prompts to make a conversation, and then correct it, saying, hey, in this one correct this, and this one correct this, and then toward my 10th prompt, I ask it to help me generate a document or something, and it does generate me a document that is very good, 80-90% is accurate. So it's all how you drive that discussion. So it's, again, it's asking the same thing that we all do, right? Ask smart questions. If you don't ask smart questions in a meeting, if you don't ask smart questions to chatbot, it will give you the dumb response because it will come and play at your level. So what else in terms of accountability? Any other last comments here? Okay. Let's move to the fourth one, the last one, is efficiency. We want efficiency, we want things faster, we want things quicker. Okay. Okay. So delegation, right? So in terms of if a manager is out of office, so if I send a request to IT security director saying, hey, we need approval on this, and the security director is out of office, it can read that the security officer is out of office and he delegated all the tasks to the security manager, so that document could be automatically forwarded to the security manager for his input. Right? So that would be efficiency in terms of if I'm out of the office, who's my delegate? You know, anything important goes to that person. If it's something that could wait, then we'll wait.
Do you mean that I'll look, for instance, to see if I am part of the office like I am right now, and then go to Workday and approve whatever timesheet that I can approve?
Okay. Approving timesheet, it depends on the enterprise level, different question, but in future possibly, because you have approved all the timesheet in historically, you will probably approve it, or you may instruct, or you may automate saying, hey, if I'm out of the office, approve the timesheets on my behalf, right? Or you delegate to your manager saying approve the timesheets on my behalf, and then she will have access to, she would get the permission in Workday for that one particular week to approve the times. So that's kind of automation that we'll probably see. Again, it's an enterprise level, it's few years down the road, but that would be a good use case.
That should also look for anomalies or patterns. If there is a difference in the pattern, you can mark it like a list and follow.
Anomalies, I can't spell it. Okay. English is not my first language, I struggle. So anomalies, yeah, the patterns. So sometime when I start my talk, I start with talking about the patterns and why patterns are important. Because if we understand the pattern, the behavior pattern of human or behavior pattern of a technology, we are better prepared. So looking at a behavior pattern, if the manager's off and somebody tried to initiate a cyber attack or kind of get you an email, so know before, right? Sometimes you get an email from your manager saying, hey, can you do this thing quickly? And that's usually a check from IT security that whether you're reading the phishing email properly or not. So looking at the anomalies and see what is out of the pattern and out of the behavior activities that are happening that can help us get efficiency. So in terms of efficiency, again, what else can make us efficient?
Real-time workflows.
Real-time workflows?
There's a lot of code dependencies in the project. So if someone finished the previous task and then the next, like designing where it's finished, and then the developer can start kicking in, gets an automated message saying, hey, your task is ready, you can go ahead and proceed.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So workflow automation or work breakdown automation is basically thinking that I'm a developer, I have written the code, and I say, hey, my code is done. Now it goes to the QA team and says, hey, the code is ready for testing, go ahead and test.
Instead of having like a daily stand-up meeting.
Yeah, instead of having a daily stand-up meeting, it's an automation through the AI system, through the project, looking at the project activity, saying, hey, this document was in draft document, now it is approved, so the next step is do this. Okay. QA QC, yep. Okay, what else we can do in terms of efficiency?
Emergency responses.
Emergency responses are out of the pattern anomalies. Right? So something critical happens, somebody's out of office, the manager or delegate cannot make a decision, what do? We need to call that person on vacation or approve it. On projects, I think most of the things can wait, but sometimes it could be critical.
Better communication across teams.
Communication, yes. So one other thing that I was thinking about workflows, and I will come back to the communication next. So in my demo exercises, what I did is I create like a PMO handbook or a template and put up my workflow process. And on purpose, in my workflow, there was a one decision box that says yes and no, yes do this, no, do nothing. So I gave it to ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT saying, hey, based on this document, what should I do? There's no decision to know what should be the case. It reads that picture, okay, and it gives you the new workflow that you should be doing and recommend you the changes that you implement in your workflows. So it can be used to enhance your workflow efficiencies out of the box today. Coming back to the communication is very critical because what I need to hear on a project is different than what somebody else needs to hear on a project. I might have vested interest on a project, so I will look into the project on a daily basis, while somebody who's not really interested in a project may not even read about the reports a month or week in time. So having that customized communication, okay, or personalized communication to the level that will serve the purpose. So personalized communication meaning if I am really interested in a project, I really want to read something what is happening on the project, it goes and read all the emails, read all the systems that we have and say, hey, here's an update for this project, or here's something that you need to do. Or it's all going good, let's just proceed with the next week and then we can go from there. Okay, so personalized communication is very important. What else is efficiency to project managers?
Along with communication, email prioritization.
Email prioritization, oh boy.
2,000 to 2,000 emails when we get home. Which ones are from my manager, which one does somebody need on Thursday?
And personally, I hate the Slack messages. I don't know if anybody hates the Slack messages. I hate the Slack messages because the Slack or the team chat is happening in different channels, and if you're not paying attention to which channel, you might miss, right? So communication in channel. And what we will see, channel, Slack, and I can give you all these notes if anybody interested. You have my email address, send me the email, I'll send you these notes in a nicely written format. So emails, Slack, and channels, there's a communication happening, and sometimes we don't read it. Now, if AI can read all these communications and says, hey, we need to do this. One of my favorite thing is, in one company I worked, they used to make all the decisions on Slack, and there was no follow-up. Now, if you can just enable Slack with generative AI that can read your Slack messages and says, hey, Steve, you're supposed to do this. You promised this in that Slack channel, so get it done, right? You have not started. So that type of communication and that type of reminders will be very, very useful because things will drop on a project. Why project fails? Because one, you don't understand the risk, and second is something we discuss on the project and somebody drops it and there's not enough follow-up.
Defined and repeatable organizational behavior.
Defined and repeatable organizational behavior. Very good. Workflows and processes. Right? That can be repeated no matter who the person is. And that's why we create those workflows with the decision boxes. Great, so we are almost like 12:18. We have another 7 minutes. So I will stop here and ask general questions, feedback, anything else that you would like to share, open discussion.
For the AI platforms to use, is it just ChatGPT that you recommend, or are there other?
So I have tried ChatGPT, I have tried Gemini, I have tried Cloudy, I have tried a number of other ones. And the example I usually give is, people ask like, which one is better? And I say, hey, if you're working on a PMO, you have 4 project managers, everybody will view the same project a little differently. So all of them are good enough, it's just that you need to pick one, play with it and see if it's good enough for you or not. But out of the box, 80-90% of the time, if you are prompting correctly. So what I said to hallucination is, define your role, your persona. I'm working as a project manager, help me as a PM assistant to do this and this based on this and this information. If you do that parametric information, that parameter way, you will get that result. But if you don't provide the context, it will start hallucinating.
I don't pick one.
Sorry?
Multiple? So sometimes I'll throw the same question at multiple ones, sometimes I'll take the output from one and put it into the other and say, make it better.
Yeah, so a couple of months back, I did like an AI workshop for one of the project management group, right? And what we did is, I opened like 3 different browsers. One, I have the ChatGPT, the Gemini, and the Copilot. And we give the same prompt to all 3 of them. And then I asked the question, which one is better? Some people, for some prompts, people like the Gemini answer. For other prompts, people like the ChatGPT answer. For others, it was Copilot, right? So, and again, but if you read all the answers, like, is it 80% good? They'll say yes, 80% is good. So if it's 80% is good, remain in the loop, read it, make it your own, give your own flavor. Question?
I just had a question for the room, if anybody's tried using Copilot for MS Project yet. If there's any feedback.
Okay. So the question is, anybody use Copilot for Microsoft Project?
You need to create a WBS?
For anything, it's supposed to be able to help with task setup and scheduling and all kinds of different things. I've never used it, I'm just curious if other people have.
We have Copilot, but I've used it generally as, creating documents or creating sections of documents.
Right, so now, because Microsoft's whole Copilot system is built around specialized AI like built for service for each of the products, right? It's not one giant AI platform. So it's very specified. I just hoped in a room of project managers and AI that tried it, but I'm not a project manager myself, I'm just curious.
We had looked at it, but at the time, well, actually still, we have a contract with an assembly. There was a lot of overlap between what they did. It looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So one of the things you may have noticed, and again, this is before the launch of ChatGPT, right? In Microsoft Outlook, like 4 years back, I start getting like some notifications sometimes saying, hey, you received this email, but you have not responded to this email. So that type of automation will help everybody because, somebody asked me for something, a document, and I have not provided it. So it can look into that and provide the contextual reminders. So that we will see more and more. And talking about enterprise level, once the Microsoft opens up the cross-application integration or cross-application generative AI review of those things, it's going to change the world, it's going to change the way we do projects.
Except that they're gonna license each one individually.
All about money, money, money.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the same thing with whether you're Microsoft, you have stability. If you're a big organization, you'll go with Microsoft. If you're a startup or a smaller company, it's usually a Google platform, same thing. It's about licensing and money. Yeah.
We'll bundle it eventually, and you'll get 4 Copilots for free.
Yeah, they're already doing that.
Eventually, yeah. More questions, comments, anything else?
There's a little bit danger in using the AI as well, because if you're a lazy person and you get to AI and you tell them to, hey, summarize all the emails that I have on this particular item, it will go in and extract it.
Yeah.
And then you don't review it, you suddenly realize that there was one email that you didn't want everybody to see, because, you broke the chain, because somebody sends you something, and you say, by the way, this guy's trying to do this, you shouldn't do this.
So I'm okay being a lazy person on a project, right? I'm okay with the lazy person, but I want that lazy person to be accountable for whatever email he or she sending.
It goes back to, building your prompts correctly, because if you're focused on Copilot for Outlook, you can say only include emails that have been reply all. So you can eliminate the risk of including an email that you side responded to somebody else.
So it's using the correct prompt.
It's all about prompt generation.
It's all about prompting. And if you are interested in prompting, I have the AI prompt guide for project managers. You go to, I have the URL here, right? You can go there, download it, play with it, share your feedback. We'll be happy to talk offline as well. More questions, comments, feedback?
Just wanted to comment on the gentleman over there that was talking about AI as being a resource that you invite into a project team. There's already some products like Fireflies, which is an AI meeting observant that you actually invite to a WebEx or a Zoom or a Teams meeting, and it functions that way very precisely. So I really liked your comment, and I'm going to steal your human in the loop equals computer in the loop for the t-shirt.
the AI is a resource, right? It's a resource and it depends on how you use it, how you configure it. It's a tool. You use this tool, it's a useful tool depending on how you use that. We are almost time, so thank you everyone for your time. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Download the AI prompt guide if you're interested, and if you want to talk more with me, you can join me on the lunch table number 9. Thank you. Thank
My PMO our PMO yeah, so Microsoft Copilot.
If you send me an email, I can send you the proposal. So just send me an email.
I see the AI goes for everything else. How to use it to translate task lists, WBSs, doing repair doing support. I read it.
More holistic, top level.
I just want to make sure, for instance, my learning style is it's almost not like I said on every exam, just once you're serious, okay, I made a mistake. I'm serious, I gotta try to get to it. To look at a certain compliance aspect of the project.
Yeah, people need the same thing, right?
And do a certain analysis, like, and as a result, now we're hoping to get.
I'm in IT, yes.
You already have, subset for everything, you're looking at kind of the other things. Did you look at his
Yeah, nice to meet you. Take care. I don't know what this was. I think this supposed to be up in the app. You have the AI forecast on your phone. Yeah, so you can actually reach out to me, go into the network. Yeah, find my name there, and then you can send me a message, it'll connect us, and then we can get agreements. Okay, all right, nice.
PMS is the biggest, like it should be, because it's highly and that. So we can use AI to solve that. So it's a very
She calls it cloud voting. Yes.
So you're from
That's how we should learn.
You got here from Scotland?
We're using elements
I'm from Ghana.
all of a sudden makes me think.
Well, that's the feeling, when you look at it, that's why, different programs and projects, it's almost like.
3 years ago.
Cool, let's connect on LinkedIn and we can catch up.
And then you feel really validated that you
These are the projects, and very cognizant and knowledgeable.
Yes.
Those type of different projects, because you, multiple projects, using of course, IEEE compliances, and anything else.
Labs, quality of work,
SME, and all that type. So you can't just.
But still, same time, I mean, maybe we can partner, maybe you can buy,
Knowledgeable, like,
code developer or something, right?
when you're asking for things,
Thank you.
here's what it's gonna look for.